Just a year before the Civil Rights Act was passed, Dr. King observed, "There are those who are asking the devotees of civil rights, when will you be satisfied?" He goes on to answer, "We can never be satisfied as long as the Negro is the victim of the unspeakable horrors of police brutality. We cannot be satisfied as long as the Negro's basic mobility is from a smaller ghetto to a larger one. We cannot be satisfied as long as a Negro in Mississippi cannot vote and a Negro in New York believes he has nothing for which to vote. Police violence, residential segregation and housing discrimination, voter suppression, the sense that there's nothing for which to vote." King's words prior to the Act's passage might describe our situation 60 years later, after its passage. So we might ask ourselves, are we satisfied? Are civil rights enough? Much as Jim Crow racism served as the glue for defending a brutal and overt system of racial oppression in the pre-civil rights era, colorblind racism serves today as the ideological armor for a covert and institutionalized system in the post-civil rights era. The court's recent decision striking down the use of race in university affirmative action programs is grounded in this colorblind ideology. The justices point to atrocities committed pre-civil rights, for example, by enslavers, the Klan, the blatantly racist officials like Bull Connor, the movement's vicious adversary in Birmingham, Alabama, as a strategy for excusing today's racist practices, which they seem to pale by comparison to what happened prior. This ignores how racism in the post-civil rights era operates through institutions, systems, and structures that are rooted in prior slavery and Jim Crow regimes, but reproduced in new ways, new forms. Racism is reproduced, not replicated. I'm extremely honored. I can't express how honored I am to give this year's Martin Luther King Social Justice Lecture and to be in conversation with my amazing Africana colleague, Marcia Chatelain.
One of the distinctions of your career has been your ability to shake up our idea of what a protected class is. So the Civil Rights Act of '64 begins this idea of who is protected under these laws, but we understand through your research, the poor are not fully protected.
Right.
Children are not fully protected.
Yeah.
The disabled, Black women, pregnant people, they're all of these people who, again, are in the state of rightlessness. And I'm curious from your perspective, in our colloquial understanding of the Civil Rights Act, do you think that we've imagined it as serving the interests of the elite, people who can sue, people who can afford discovery and find out that Exxon has been discriminating against Black executives? I'm curious about where does it then rest in terms of all of these people who are excluded from the law?
Yeah, that's another limitation of basing radical change on bringing a lawsuit based on protection of individual rights. You have to be an individual, not only who seems to be deserving of protection, but also someone who has the money or other resources to bring the lawsuit. And there are civil rights attorneys who bring lawsuits to protect the rights of individuals against discrimination, all forms of discrimination. But it's not enough to bring about the structural changes that Dr. King and others want to see, and that would actually bring into this nation a truly equal and democratic society. A lot of my work has been pointing to really horrible injustices that I see, the prosecution of pregnant Black women or women who just gave birth and dragging them out of maternity wards because there was a positive drug test, as if that's going to help, their babies. And now my work against family policing, along with many activists trying to abolish this system and replace it with policies and practices and community-based resources that actually support families. And then my work on the resurgence of biological concepts of race. I'm just astounded at how today there are scientists who publish articles still based on this idea that some natural force divided human beings into races. And so, these are just some examples. I feel like my whole career is about pointing out to people, this is unjust, but the law doesn't see it that way. Mm-hmm. So I could go on and on with all these examples. How is it that happens? And part of it is because of these underlying assumptions that there are certain people who just aren't equally human. They don't even deserve to live, let alone to thrive. And so that's something we have to tackle, we have to end as we're working toward a society that is truly democratic, truly equal, truly caring, truly loving. And I want to highlight what you asked earlier. I don't think I emphasized it enough when you said it's framed in what do we have protections against the government? What are our protections against government interference, which is important, but it leaves out what should we demand of government to provide. And both of them are equally important, and our whole civil rights and constitutional jurisprudence are all set up around these negative rights, which aren't even enforced for everybody, but don't go to the positive right to be able to feed your family, the positive right to have housing, the positive right to have healthcare. That's why I think King said we have to go from civil rights to human rights. Those are human rights that everyone should be entitled to in a truly free and democratic society. And think about, in this era, how we are going to build and create, despite what seemed like impossible odds, more loving communities in our own circles, as well as spreading it out as much as we can.
Well, on behalf of this incredible audience, this incredible scholar, thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, Marcia.
On behalf of the Center for Africana Studies, it is my pleasure to present a gift to our honoree, the MLK honoree of 2024.
Yes.